Good afternoon to those in Europe and Africa. Good morning to those of you in the Americas, and good evening to those joining from Asia. And if you're in East Asia, then I must apologize for the timing. On behalf of Friends of Socialist China, I'd like to thank you all for joining today's webinar. I'm not going to speak for long, but I did want to quickly say something about the motivation for putting on this event. Why China? Why Latin America? Of course, our platform focuses on China in particular, not because of any sort of special appreciation for jasmine tea and Ming Dynasty pottery, although speaking personally, I like those things, but because as the largest socialist country and the largest developing country, and as a rising power, China has a critically important role in terms of the global transition, both towards a multipolar framework of international relations and towards socialism. And if we're talking about socialism in the 21st century, it's obvious we need to discuss China. Having achieved its historic goal of eliminating extreme poverty in 2021, China is now building systematically towards what it calls its second centenary goal, to build a great modern socialist country in all respects. This means moving on from tackling absolute poverty to tackling relative poverty. It means focusing on common prosperity. It means reducing inequality between regions and between groups. It means attaining a per capita GDP comparable with the most developed countries. It means every member of the population having access to top quality education and healthcare and having the opportunity to lead a fulfilling life. And it means sustainable development, protecting biodiversity, ending greenhouse gas emissions. But on this question of establishing a vision of socialism in the 21st century, the peoples of Latin America also have some very important things to say. Of course, revolutionary Cuba has been blazing a trail since 1959. But the US, having failed to prevent the emergence of socialism in Cuba and having failed to dismantle it or suffocate it, not for want of trying, became very vigilant in stamping out revolutionary movements throughout the continent. When it comes to fighting socialism and fighting sovereignty in Latin America, the Monroe Doctrine has been in some ways more alive than ever over the last 60 to 70 years. And Latin America was an important location of the Cold War. The people of Guatemala, of Cuba, of Nicaragua, of Grenada, of Brazil, of Chile, Argentina, El Salvador, Bolivia, and many other countries have experienced some decidedly hot battles within the Cold War. But over the last 2 decades, starting with the election of Hugo Chavez in Venezuela in '99, progressive governments and movements in Latin America have been exploring new paths towards socialism. Chavez himself coined the phrase, socialism of the 21st century. And he understood it on a national level in Venezuela, but also on a regional level in Latin America, and also on a global level. Chavez recognized that the world was moving in a multipolar direction, what he called a pluripolar direction, that China was emerging as a strong, sovereign, independent power with its own form of socialism, that Russia was recovering from this neoliberal battering to which it had been subjected in the aftermath of the collapse of the Soviet Union, that Iran was gaining in strength and pursuing its own independent policy, that the countries of Africa, Latin America, and the Caribbean were asserting themselves and finding new ways to cooperate. So Venezuela pursued and continues to pursue a policy of building socialism, of shifting economic and political and cultural power away from the elite and towards ordinary Venezuelans. And it protects this socialist experiment by integrating it within a wide family of progressive nations. Upon being elected, Chavez immediately established close ties between Venezuela and Cuba. Then, with the election of Lula in Brazil in 2002, the victory of the Movimiento Socialismo in Bolivia in 2005, the victory of Rafael Correa's Citizens' Revolution in Ecuador, 2006, the Sandinistas returned to power in Nicaragua, 2007, these processes all supported and strengthened one another. And this vision, as I said, it wasn't only regional, it was global. Chavez very clearly, very explicitly stood for the militant unity of anti-imperialist forces worldwide, because he knew that our collective strength was necessary to create a space for development, for progress, for socialism. And that project continues. Today, the socialist-oriented governments in Latin America stand with China against the various slanders hurled at it by the US and its allies. They stand with Russia today against the expansion and aggression of this US-dominated nuclear alliance that is NATO. So the process of building socialism in Latin America has always been linked to the global socialist and multipolar project in which China has such an important role. And that's why we thought it would be valuable to explore these themes together. And with those introductory remarks, I'd like to thank you all again for joining us today, and I'll hand you back to Radhika. Thank you.